Welcome to Africo Tales. The sun beats down on Lagos with a relentless, shimmering intensity. But it is not the heat that truly burns in this city of dreams and nightmares. No, it is the fire of ambition, the blaze of desire, and sometimes the blinding inferno of a love misplaced. In this concrete jungle where skyscrapers kiss the clouds and the hustle hums an eternal song, a humble builder with calloused hands and an earnest heart dared to reach for a star he thought was his destiny, unaware that some stars are merely reflections in a poisoned well. This is the story of Emeka, a son of the soil, who learned that even in a city paved with gold, a heart left unguarded can be broken into a million dusty fragments, revealing that true wealth lies not in glitter, but in the wisdom of a spirit unafraid to choose integrity over illusion. His tale is a whisper of ancestral warnings against the seductive dance of deceit, a reminder that a river without banks floods the village, and unchecked greed knows no shores. Listen closely, for the echoes of this story are still carried on the Lagos breeze. Emeka knew the smell of Lagos like he knew his own breath, a pungent symphony of exhaust fumes, sizzling street food, and the earthy damp from construction sites. Every morning, before the sun quite cleared the horizon, he was already at the construction site in Ikoyi, his safety helmet a familiar weight, his dusty boots crunching on gravel. He was a builder, not just of structures, but of dreams, pouring his sweat into the foundations of the city's next towering marvels. His ambition was as solid as the concrete he mixed, a quiet promise to himself and to his aging mother back in the village. One day, he would build a life as grand as the skyscrapers he now helped erect. His hands, though rough, held the precision of an artist, shaping metal and mortar into something enduring. He was a man of substance, rooted in the values passed down through generations, valuing hard work and community above all else. His modest flat in Surulere was a world away from the gleaming penthouses he helped create. But his spirit was full, nourished by the simple joys of a well-earned meal and the camaraderie of his fellow laborers. Then, one scorching afternoon, as he directed a crane lifting a steel beam skyward, she appeared. A vision. Zara. She glided past the dusty perimeter, a whirlwind of vibrant silk and exotic fragrance, her designer sunglasses reflecting the angry Lagos sun. Her presence was like a sudden cool breeze in the suffocating heat, an anomaly in a world of cement mixers and grunting men. She was visiting the site, perhaps an interior designer or an architect's client, her high heels clicking a rhythm that was entirely alien to the clanging of steel. Emeka watched her, mesmerized, as she moved with an effortless grace, her laughter tinkling like wind chimes. She was everything he was not, refined, glamorous, seemingly untouched by the grime and struggle that defined his daily existence. He felt a profound shift within him, a sudden, desperate longing to step out of the shadows of his work and into her iridescent light. It was a longing that whispered dangerous things, things his grandmother had warned against. The allure of superficial beauty, the fleeting shimmer of a mirage over a true oasis. He saw a diamond where others might have seen only polished glass. The image of Zara became a relentless melody in Emeka's mind, a siren's song blending with the clamor of the construction site. He found subtle ways to catch glimpses of her, to learn her schedule, his heart pounding like a Yoruba drum solo each time she was near. He even began to choose his cleaner, less dusty work clothes with more care, a small, hopeful attempt to bridge the chasm between their worlds. Finally, one evening, emboldened by a courage he didn't know he possessed, He approached her as she was leaving the site in a sleek tinted car. He stammered a greeting, his voice rough with emotion, his hands involuntarily tightening into fists, betraying his nervousness. Zara, initially, seemed taken aback, her elegant brow furrowed in a moment of surprise, perhaps even disdain, at this dusty figure who dared to intrude on her pristine bubble. But then, a slow, radiant smile bloomed. On her face, a carefully constructed masterpiece of charm that melted Emeka's resolve and solidified his infatuation. She spoke with a voice that was both melodic and cultured, complementing his dedication, even his rugged charm. It was a practiced performance, honed over years of navigating Lagos's elite circles, designed to disarm and captivate. He felt a dizzying euphoria, convinced she saw beyond his dusty clothes, past his humble beginnings, into the ambitious heart he carried. Later that night, as he recounted the encounter to his friend, Tayo, over plates of spicy jollof rice at a local buka, Tayo's eyes held a flicker of something resembling caution. "Be careful, my brother," Tayo advised, wiping his mouth with the back of his hand. "The finest silks often hide the sharpest thorns. The chameleon may change its colors, but its heart remains the same. Such beauty can blind a man faster than the midday sun." Emeka, however, dismissed the warning, his mind already spinning elaborate fantasies of a future with Zara, his heart unwilling to acknowledge the subtle unease Tayo's words had stirred. Zahra, once seemingly out of reach, now began to weave Emeka into her world with an almost imperceptible cunning. Their first few dates were a whirlwind for Emeka, a dizzying ascent into a Lagos he'd only observed from afar. She took him to exclusive art galleries with abstract installations, to rooftop lounges where the city lights glittered like scattered jewels, to restaurants where the cutlery gleamed and the portions were as refined as the conversation. Each outing was a revelation, a carefully curated experience designed to impress and subtly underscore the vast difference in their lifestyles. She spoke of her investments, her ventures, her network of influential friends, painting a picture of a woman deeply enmeshed in the city's highest echelons. Emeka, in turn, spoke of his work, his dreams of establishing his own construction firm, his plans to build affordable housing for families like his own. He was earnest, open, his heart on his sleeve, a stark contrast to Zara's carefully guarded persona. She listened, nodding, her eyes seemingly sparkling with interest, but beneath the surface, a calculating mind was at work. She learned about his family's land in the village, his modest savings dedicated to his future business, the quiet strength of his character. She praised his ambition, his integrity, making him feel seen and appreciated in a way no woman had before. Yet, there was always a lingering sense of his own inadequacy, a subtle pressure to prove himself worthy of her illustrious world. During one particularly opulent dinner, she casually mentioned a business opportunity, a lucrative land deal that required significant upfront capital, but promised astronomical returns. Her words were like sweet nectar laced with a subtle poison, planting seeds of temptation in Emeka's fertile mind. He found himself imagining a life where his dreams could be accelerated, where he could provide for his mother and future family even more lavishly, all through Zara's sophisticated connections. The line between love and materialism, between genuine affection and calculated ambition, blurred further with each passing glamorous encounter. Zara's allure was undeniable, a polished veneer that shimmered brightly, but beneath it lay a complex tapestry woven from ambition, desperation, and a past she meticulously kept hidden. Born into a family of modest means in a sprawling Lagos suburb, her childhood was a constant struggle against the tide of poverty. She watched her mother toil endlessly, her father's promises of a better life often dissolving like mist in the harsh morning sun. The weight of societal expectations, the casual disregard for women in their community, and the ever-present pressure to marry well or secure a prosperous future for her family had etched deep lines of resolve into her young spirit. She had witnessed firsthand how easily a woman's dreams could be crushed, how fleeting security could be without true financial independence. This gnawing fear of returning to the shadows of her past fueled her relentless pursuit of wealth and status, a pursuit that hardened her heart and taught her to view relationships as transactional. Her current glamorous life was not built on inherited wealth, but on a meticulously constructed facade, a house of cards perpetually on the verge of collapsing. She had leveraged connections, taken risks, and perhaps even made compromises that gnawed at the edges of her conscience on sleepless nights. A brief, ill-fated marriage to an older, wealthy businessman had ended disastrously, leaving her with a taste of luxury but without the promised security, forcing her to rely on her wits and her looks to maintain her image. She had perfected the art of strategic alliances, charming benefactors, and manipulating circumstances to her advantage. Emeka, with his unwavering honesty and modest but steady stream of income and savings, represented a new kind of opportunity. He was a solid foundation, a means to an end, a stepping stone to a stability she craved but had never truly found. In the quiet solitude of her penthouse, away from the glittering pretense, Zara sometimes caught a glimpse of her true self in the mirror, a woman haunted by the echoes of her past, driven by a fear that justified every deceit, a fear that whispered, "Survival is the only virtue." As Emeka plunged deeper into Zara's world, a subtle unease began to prick at the edges of his unwavering devotion. It started with inexplicable dreams, vivid, unsettling visions of thorny vines entangling beautiful flowers, of a shimmering river that suddenly turned into murky quicksand. In one particularly disturbing dream, his late grandmother, Iya Alaro, appeared, her usually gentle eyes clouded with concern, her lips struggling to form words that never quite reached him, only a chilling whisper like dry leaves rustling, "Beware of shadows that wear light." He woke up in a cold sweat, the dream clinging to him like a shroud. These vivid nocturnal visitations were not unusual in his family. His mother often spoke of how the ancestors communicated through dreams and omens, guiding or warning their descendants. The unsettling feelings only intensified. One evening, after a particularly lavish dinner with Zara, Emeka found himself walking past an old, gnarled iroko tree that stood defiantly amidst the modern high-rises. As he passed, a lone owl, usually a nocturnal hunter, hooted 3 times, its call mournful and distinct, even in the bustling city noise. An old mammy market woman, selling herbs and traditional remedies, caught his eye. Her ancient gaze seemed to penetrate his very soul. "Young man," she croaked, her voice like sandpaper, "the path you walk is lit by false lamps. Be wary of gifts that come too easily, for they often carry a heavy price. The fly that has no one to advise it follows the corpse into the grave." Her words, delivered with an unsettling gravitas, sent a shiver down his spine, echoing his grandmother's unspoken warning. He tried to rationalize it, attributing it to fatigue or superstition, but the seeds of doubt had been planted. Later, when he called his mother in the village, she too, sensing a shift in his tone, urged him to be cautious. "My son," she said, her voice soft but firm, A good wife is like a fertile ground. She nourishes growth. But a misleading one is like a barren rock, beautiful perhaps, but yielding nothing but sorrow. Your spirit feels restless. Listen to what your heart whispers, not just what your eyes see. The collective weight of these warnings pressed down on Emeka, forcing him to confront a growing dissonance between the dazzling reality Zara presented and the unsettling whispers of his ancestral spirit. As their relationship deepened, Zahra's needs, once subtle, began to transform into increasingly insistent demands. She spoke of grand opportunities, of a luxury real estate development she was supposedly spearheading, a project that promised to elevate them both into the stratosphere of Lagos's wealthy elite. But these opportunities, she explained with a beguiling smile, required seed capital, a small investment to secure their future. She casually mentioned a plot of land that was perfect for this venture, a piece of prime real estate that was soon to be developed, but only if they acted fast. "Emeka, imagine us together," she would purr, tracing patterns on his arm. "True partners, building an empire. This is our chance, our moment." She knew about his savings, the modest sum he had meticulously accumulated for his own construction, business, the foundation he had planned to lay for himself. The pressure mounted. She presented him with glossy brochures, talked of meetings with investors he never met, and painted vivid pictures of their future, a future shimmering with designer clothes, exotic vacations, and a penthouse even grander than her own. Emeka, caught in her magnetic pull, felt torn. His builder's instinct, honed by years of practical experience, warned him against such hasty, unverified ventures. His heart, however, yearned to provide for Zahra, to prove himself worthy of her extravagant world. He began to dip into his savings, first small amounts for administrative fees, then larger sums for deposits on the mythical land. His friend, Tayo, noticed the change. Emeka was always distracted, his once vibrant spirit now tinged with a nervous tension. "My brother, your eyes are like a goat taken to market, wide with wonder, but unaware of the butcher's knife," Tayo said, his voice laced with concern as Emeka recounted Zahra's latest deal over fufu and egusi soup. "Does this woman truly care for you, or for what you possess? Are you building a future, or merely digging a pit?" Emeka dismissed him again, his pride wounded, convinced that Tayo simply didn't understand the magnitude of the love he felt or the incredible opportunity Zahra was offering. He was investing in their future, he told himself, not blindly following a path to potential ruin. The first crack in Zahra's flawless facade appeared subtly, a fleeting shadow that Emeka, in his blind devotion, initially attributed to his own paranoia. He was on his way to meet her for lunch, passing by a high-end fashion boutique she frequented, when he saw her. She was laughing, her arm linked with a man whose suit looked impossibly expensive, his demeanor overtly possessive. It wasn't just the intimate gesture that struck Emeka, but the way she looked at the man, a look of genuine affection, a secret language shared between them that was entirely different from the carefully manufactured charm she reserved for him. He froze, hidden by a parked car, watching as the man leaned in, whispering something into her ear that made her throw her head back in rich, unguarded laughter. Then they stepped into a waiting luxury SUV, the tinted windows shielding them from the world, and disappeared into the Lagos traffic. Emeka's heart plummeted, a cold dread seizing him. He felt a sudden, sharp pain, as if a vital organ had been ripped from his chest. He stood there for a long moment, The vibrant city noise, fading into a dull roar, his mind trying to reconcile this image with the woman who professed to be building a future with him. Was this man a business partner? A relative? He tried to rationalize it away, yet the unsettling feeling persisted, a tiny seed of doubt that began to sprout amidst the fertile ground of his infatuation. Later that day, when he gently questioned her about his chance sighting, Zara was swift and dismissive. "Oh, that was just Chief Okoro," she said with a wave of her hand, her voice light and airy. "He's a major investor in my luxury development project, you know, the one we're pooling resources for. He's a bit handsy, but it's important to maintain good relationships with people like him. It's all for our future, darling." Her explanation was plausible, even logical, yet Emeka couldn't shake the chilling feeling that her eyes, though smiling, held a flicker of something guarded, something unreadable. He wanted so desperately to believe her, to dismiss the cold dread, and so he did, pushing the unsettling image deep into the recesses of his mind, convincing himself it was merely a misunderstanding, a trick of the light. After all, the eye that sees only what it wants to see will stumble in broad daylight. The air in Zara's penthouse apartment was thick with the scent of lilies and expensive perfume, the Lagos skyline glittering like an audience to their contrived drama. Zara, with a theatrical flourish, presented Emeka with a ring box, not for her, but for him to hold. "Emeka, darling," she cooed, her eyes gleaming with a mixture of excitement and calculation. "We must solidify our commitment. A formal engagement will open so many doors for us, especially with the investors. It's not just about us, it's about our future, our legacy." She spoke of a grand engagement party, a lavish affair that would announce their union to Lagos society, convincing everyone of their impending partnership. It was a strategic move, designed to inextricably link their names, making Emeka a public figure in her elaborate charade. She knew his deep-seated yearning for acceptance within her world, and she expertly played on it. The engagement party was indeed a spectacle, a dazzling display of wealth and influence. Emeka, dressed in a borrowed suite, felt like a stranger in his own story, an actor playing a role he didn't quite understand. He was introduced to Zara's associates, smooth-talking men and impeccably dressed women who barely acknowledged his presence, their eyes assessing him with a cold, almost predatory curiosity. The conversation swirled around him, filled with abstract numbers, land deals, and references to powerful figures, a world utterly alien to his honest, straightforward nature. Zara, in contrast, moved through the crowd with effortless grace, a queen among her subjects, occasionally casting him a dazzling smile that felt increasingly hollow. Later, amidst the champagne flutes and hushed conversations, she pulled him aside, her voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. "Darling," she began, her hand gently touching his, "we must secure the Ikoyi land deal now. It's a generational opportunity, but it requires a larger commitment. And my family. They are pressing for a rapid wedding. They believe it would lend more credibility to our joint ventures. They are very traditional, you see, and they have spoken of securing the lineage. You know, the importance of children." She looked at him with an almost desperate appeal, subtly playing on the traditional African desire for family and heirs. Emeka, already reeling from the opulence and the veiled expectations, felt a tightening in his chest. The investment had grown, the timeline had accelerated, and now even the sacred institution of marriage was being presented as a mere business transaction, a means to an end. The weight of her expectations, coupled with the subtle yet pervasive materialism of her world, began to feel like a crushing burden. The unraveling began with a seemingly innocuous phone call. Emeka was at his construction site, supervising the pouring of a foundation, when his phone rang. It was Tayo, his voice tight, with an urgency Emeka had never heard before. "My brother, you must leave that woman, now, before it is too late." Tayo had a cousin who worked in the land registry office, a quiet man who kept his ears to the ground. He had stumbled upon something disturbing. The prime Ikoyi land Zara had been so insistent about, the one Emeka had poured his savings into, was not only already owned by a prominent politician, but it was also embroiled in a bitter legal dispute, making any immediate development impossible. It was a fraudulent scheme, a sophisticated scam designed to siphon money from unsuspecting investors. Tayo's cousin, concerned for Emeka, had done some digging, uncovering a trail of previous victims, all men who had fallen for Zara's charms and lost their life savings in similar investment opportunities. The confirmation hit Emeka like a sudden, brutal blow from a dropped steel beam. The dreams, the promises, the love he had so fiercely guarded, all of it crumbled into dust. He felt a profound sense of foolishness, a crushing embarrassment. He called Zara, his voice shaking with a mixture of anger and despair. She feigned shock, then indignation, dismissing Tayo's information as rumors and jealousy. But Emeka had seen the look on her face when she was with the other man. He had felt the hollowness of her promises. He demanded answers, pressing her until her carefully constructed composure finally cracked. Her voice, once so melodious, became sharp, venomous. "And what if it is true, Emeka?" she spat, her true nature finally revealed. "What if I needed a fool like you to fund my escape from a life you could never understand? You were so easy to manipulate, so eager to believe in a fantasy. The goat that chews more than it can swallow will choke. Didn't you ever wonder why a woman like me would be with a simple builder?" It was a dramatic confession, delivered with a chilling lack of remorse, confirming his worst fears. The truth, once a whispered rumor, solidified into a crushing, undeniable reality. The phone clattered from Emeka's trembling hand onto the dusty ground, the dead line echoing the emptiness that now hollowed out his chest. Zara's words, sharp and poisoned, pierced him deeper than any physical wound. "A fool like you." The phrase echoed in his ears, stripping him bare, exposing his naivete, his misplaced trust. He stood amidst the skeletal frames of the very buildings he was helping to construct, the irony a bitter pill to swallow. He, a builder of foundations, had allowed his own life's foundation to be built on lies and deceit. His savings, the fruit of years of relentless toil, were gone, vanished. Into the intricate web of Zara's schemes, the money he had promised his mother for a new roof, the capital he had painstakingly accumulated for his own business, the dreams of a secure future for himself and his prospective family, all reduced to nothing. His pride, too, was shattered. He had dismissed Tayo's warnings, ignored his mother's subtle cautions, and brushed aside the ancestral whispers. He had been so sure of his judgment, so convinced of the purity of his love. Now, that love felt like a grotesque mockery, a cruel joke played upon his earnest heart. The vibrant, pulsating energy of Lagos, once a source of inspiration, now felt cold and mocking. The gleaming towers he built seemed to sneer at his folly, the bustling markets a cacophony of judgment. Each familiar street corner, each billboard advertising a life of luxury, was a stark reminder of what he had chased and lost. He walked home in a daze, the city lights blurring through unshed tears, the weight of betrayal pressing down on him. The cost of his misplaced love was not just financial. It was a profound spiritual bankruptcy, a searing wound to his very soul. He felt utterly alone, isolated by his shame, wondering how he could ever face his family, his community, or even himself after such a catastrophic fall. A beautiful face may hide a rotten heart, his grandmother used to say, but he had chosen to see only the beauty. And now, the rottenness had consumed him whole. In the quiet despair that followed, Emeka did the only thing he knew how to do. He sought refuge in the bosom of his family. He journeyed back to his ancestral village, a small, peaceful enclave nestled amidst rolling hills and lush greenery, a stark contrast to the unforgiving concrete jungle he had left behind. The journey was a pilgrimage of penance, each kilometer bringing him closer to a kind of emotional reckoning. His mother, Iya Nkechi, greeted him with eyes that held both sorrow and understanding. She didn't need words. A mother's intuition was often sharper than any blade. She simply held him, stroking his head as he finally broke down, pouring out the painful, humiliating tale of Zara's betrayal. There was no judgment in her gaze, only profound love and the quiet strength he had always known. She prepared his favorite dishes, steaming plates of fufu with rich egusi soup, bowls of spicy jollof rice, food that nourished not just his body, but his wounded spirit, reconnecting him to his roots. The village, in its timeless rhythm, offered a soothing balm. The elders, their faces etched with the wisdom of generations, listened patiently to his story. Baba Ola, the oldest and most respected among them, placed a comforting hand on Emeka's shoulder. "My son," he began, his voice raspy with age, "the wise man learns from the fool, and the fool from his own folly. You have learned a hard lesson. But remember, a fall does not mean the end of the journey. It only tells you to change direction. The city is a place of many dazzling lights, but some are like fireflies. They shine brightly, but hold no warmth, no substance. The true warmth, the true light, is found here, within our community, within the honest work of your hands." He spoke of communal harmony, of rebuilding not just structures, but trust and self-worth. Emeka spent weeks helping with village projects. His hands, though still calloused, now found solace in honest labor, in the shared laughter and quiet understanding of his people. He began to heal, piece by painful piece, realizing that, true, wealth was not found in designer dresses or penthouse views, but in the unwavering embrace of those who truly loved him, in the earth beneath his feet, and in the enduring values that had always been his anchor. Slowly, painstakingly, Emeka began to rebuild. He returned to Lagos, not with the wide-eyed ambition of before, but with a newfound wisdom, a quiet resolve, and a spirit tempered by fire. The city still hummed with its endless energy, but his perspective had shifted. He saw the glitter and glamour for what it often was, a thin, deceptive veil. He immersed himself in his work, finding solace in the tangible reality of concrete and steel. He started small, taking on modest projects, pouring his integrity into every brick laid, every beam secured. His reputation for honesty and hard work, once a quiet whisper, began to spread, reaching the ears of those who valued substance over flash. He learned to trust his instincts, to listen to the quiet warnings that now felt like ancestral guidance, rather than mere superstition. He also heard whispers of Zara. Her grand luxury development scheme had imploded, a house of cards collapsing under the weight of its own deceit. Her investors were now actively pursuing her, and the glamorous life she had meticulously crafted had unraveled, leaving her exposed and alone, a cautionary tale echoing through the city's elite circles. Her penthouse, once a symbol of opulence, was now a hollow shell, emptied by creditors. Emeka felt no triumph, only a quiet melancholy. The woman he had loved, or thought he had loved, was now a ghost of her former self, consumed by the very materialism she had so fiercely pursued. He understood then that her glittering wealth was always fleeting, built on sand, while his own honest struggle, though painful, was slowly and steadily building on rock. He started his own construction company, a small but robust venture named Iya Nkechi Builders, a tribute to his mother's unwavering strength and the values she embodied. The first project was modest, affordable housing in Surulere, homes for families just like the one he aspired to have. He was building not just houses, but hope, laying down foundations rooted in dignity and community. Years passed, and Emeka's company, Iya Nkechi Builders, flourished, a testament to his resilience and unwavering commitment to honesty. He was a respected figure in the city, known not for his flashy lifestyle, but for the solid, reliable structures he built, and for the principled man he had become. The scars of Zara's betrayal remained, a permanent etching on his heart, but they no longer festered. Instead, they served as a constant reminder of the lessons learned, a compass guiding him towards true north. He understood now that true happiness was not a destination found in penthouse views, but a journey built on integrity, community, and the quiet joy of meaningful work. He had forgiven Zara, not for her sake, but for his own, releasing the bitterness that had once chained him. His heart, once broken, found new life. He met Adana at a community festival, a kind and intelligent architect who shared his vision for sustainable, community-focused development. She admired his strength, his humility, and the quiet dignity with which he carried himself. Their love was not a blinding flash, but a slow, steady burn, a deepening connection built on shared values and mutual respect. They married in a simple, joyous ceremony, surrounded by family and friends, the blessings of their ancestors palpable in the warm Lagos air. Their home, though not a penthouse, was filled with laughter, love, and the tantalizing aroma of Adana's jollof rice. Emeka often reflected on his journey, understanding that the greatest architect in his life had been adversity itself, shaping him, refining him, teaching him that the sun does not forget a village just because it is small. He was a builder, yes, but he had also become an unseen architect of a life built on solid ground, a life rich with purpose, wisdom, and the enduring harmony of true African values. His story became a quiet legend in the bustling city, a testament that though a builder might fall for the wrong woman, a man of true character can always rise again, stronger and wiser, to build a future far more precious than any fleeting glamour. If you enjoyed the story, then like, subscribe, and share this story with your loved ones. Also, tell us in the comments where you are watching from.